You must be this tall to have your career affected by Vince McMahon. How tall is this tall? Who could possibly know when everyone from the small to the tall has had a few additional inches tacked onto their profile? Or, in the curious case of Christian Cage, a few inches taken off, because how else would Vince McMahon continue his always bizarre hatred of Christian than taking this 6-foot-tall man and billing him as 5'10"? Anyway, the heights of wrestlers have always been known to be a fallacy, but which wrestlers' build height strayed the furthest from the truth? Well, it's these ones. Let's get to it. And if you think anyone has been omitted from this list, then I'm sorry, but they just came up short. Sorry, that was low-hanging fruit, the kind they could reach. I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the most exaggerated wrestler heights in WWE history. First up, Andre the Giant. Really, where better to start than the 8th wonder of the world, because only in the carnival world of wrestling would someone look at the shoot height of 7 foot and say that's not impressive enough. Andre was routinely billed as well above that, with Jesse Ventura going so far as to say that he was 7'5" during his match with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. But you know what? That is a show of exaggerated numbers, so at least he followed the theme. In reality, Andre was several inches shorter than that. His 2020 biography, an excellent book by Bertrand Hebert and Pat LaPrade, includes a photo of Andre's passport which lists his height at 7'1". Now, I don't know how you would get your height falsified on a passport, but this famous image has Andre stood next to NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain and Short King Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Andre is shorter than Chamberlain, who is 7'1". So maybe the passport industry is filled with just as many carnies as the wrestling business. Someone should probably look into that. And then we have Big Cass. I'll let you know right now, you're not likely to see many medium-sized wrestlers on this list. In case you have all forgotten the musings of lyrical stylist Enzo Amore, this right here is Big Cass, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Although it seems you may be able to fudge that. In reality, Large Cassidy stands at 6'9", which, while nice, isn't 7 feet. Cass admitted his height himself in a podcast interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and if you needed more proof than that, the former William Morrissey committed the cardinal sin of participating in real sports, and as such, his height can be found in college basketball records from his time at NYU. Maybe WWE felt the need to give Cass those extra 3 inches to justify calling him Big Cass, because otherwise he would have just been medium Colin Cassidy, and that doesn't quite have the same ring to it. And then there's Dean Malenko. Alright, let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum now for a moment. For as much as height absolutely does not matter in daily life, allow me for a moment to tell you that one of the pains of my life is being 5'9" 3/4, leading to both people who are 5'9" and 5'10" looking at me and saying, "No, you're not," whenever I try and say I'm the same height as them. It doesn't matter, but if you have ever felt the sting of a sweet summer rejection, you know the pain. So with that being said, when WWE tries to tell me that notably 5'6" Dean Malenko is actually 5'10", I start to develop a twitch. Of course, I love the work of Dean Malenko, and I often think about how awesome it would have been if his career had been a little longer and he'd been able to be a founding father of Ring of Honor, but come on now, this is like saying Pete is taller than me, and as you can see from this photo of us and honorary LIW member Stephen Strange, that would simply be ridiculous. Next up, The Undertaker. Back to the tall boys now. The Undertaker has always been a very weird case in the height and weight department, routinely billed at 299 pounds. Don't you f***ing dare say 300, or Dungeon Dice Morgan here will drag you to hell, and the hell is listening to his podcast. And billed at 6 foot 10 inches tall. WWE seemed content to keep Taker from passing the 7 foot threshold, something they would have no problem doing with other would-be giants to come. Taker's notoriously shitty WrestleMania 13 main event with Sid stands as solid evidence of the dead man's shoot height, as the 6'6" West Side Gun album cover man is just ever so slightly shorter than his opponent, putting Booger Red at 6 foot 7 inches tall. Of course, it also doesn't help that WWE just kept booking Taker against the tallest people in the company, maybe in an effort to make them seem taller than they were, and while I don't think this exposed Taker's heights by any means, it does make it all just a little bit more complicated. And then back to the other end of the spectrum with Rey Mysterio. WWE has always touted Rey Mysterio as the biggest little man, and after doing some research, I think even that can be called into question. This one is particularly strange, as Rey's lack of size has always been his greatest selling point as an underdog. In theory, you'd probably want to bill Rey Ray as being as small as possible to make it an even greater feat when he wins, but that concept just doesn't compute in the head of Vince McMahon, whose three worst fears are small wrestlers, southerners, and being in any way a decent human being. Ray has always been billed in WWE as 5'6", but I've met Rey Mysterio, and using this photo evidence, yeah, my guy is not 5'6". Ray has gone on record saying he is 5'4", and I'm certainly not going to call the greatest modern luchador a liar, but I don't know, there's every chance he could be a bit shorter than that when you compare his height to other wrestlers and, well, the ring. And then we have Kane. When That's Gotta Be Kane arrived on the scene in WWE in 1997, he stood toe-to-toe with his brother The Undertaker as commentary blared that Kane was even bigger than the dead man. This is the part where I tell you that in reality, they're the same height, standing 6'7" tall. But as Kane had to be billed as taller than his undead brochacho, Kane would routinely be announced as standing 7 feet tall. The jump from 6'7" to 7 foot is in fact larger than the jump from 6'7" to 6'10", so Kane gets 2 extra inches of exaggerated finger shaking. Kane wore special lifts in his boots to make the 7-foot billing sound even remotely plausible, but as time went on and the need to be bigger than his brother became less of a factor, the lifts were removed and announcers phased out his height from his entrance. Come to think of it, as one of the last known residents of partsUNknown, Kane may have had more lives removed from his entrance over the years than anyone else. Next up, Adam Cole. Now, look, listen, the internet is a horrible place. Or maybe it's just Twitter. You can follow me over on the much better blue sky at @HeyIt'sTempest, and you can find out for yourself if it's better over there. But I'm not going to be one of the dirtbags who dogpiles on Adam Cole because of his physical appearance. Cole is by all accounts one of the nicest people ever to pass through the wrestling business. With that being said, Adam Cole is probably the least 6 foot tall man to ever be billed at being 6 foot tall. I know everyone has seen the photo of Cole and Zack Sabre Jr., but come on, man, these guys were billed as the same height. Again, having been in the same room as the man, Cole is probably closer to 5'7" or 5'8", but that doesn't diminish his talent whatsoever. I know that doesn't need to be said, but I don't know, I just didn't want to do this one. Love you, Chugs, please don't rescind my Twitch sub for this. And then there's Giant Gonzalez. Again, it's as if having the shoot tallest wrestler in your company's history just wasn't impressive enough. Those who would watch Giant Gonzalez walk to the ring would probably think to themselves that he was the most impressive wrestler of all time. And of course that would all change as soon as the bell would ring, but at a standstill, he was a sight to behold, standing a legitimate 7 foot 7 inches tall per the Guinness Book of World Records. Of course, all 91 of those shoot inches were not enough to satiate WWE's need for stretching the truth and build him at a ludicrous 8 feet tall. I mean, when you're billing The Undertaker at 6'10" and Giant Gonzalez is legitimately a full foot taller than him, this is the kind of thing that needs to happen. But when does it ever stop? What would happen if a 7'10" wrestler had shown up? Then he'd have to be billed at 8'3". When do the lies stop? Please, WWE, lies hurt people. They make baby Jesus cry. I don't know, this is what happens when I have to make myself care about Giant Gonzalez. I lose my mind a little bit. But while this list hasn't exactly been in order, the 5 extra inches of lies tacked onto Giant Gonzalez's name are in fact not the most in WWE history. That dubious distinction actually belongs to Zeus. Yeah, bet you didn't see that coming. For all the giants whose fake heights have been spoken into WWE folklore, actor Tiny Tom Lister got the biggest bump. Better known to WWE fans as Zeus, and known to real nerds as the convict that threw the detonator out the window in The Dark Knight, Lister wrestled a trilogy of matches in WWE when he and Hulk Hogan starred in No Holds Barred, and he was billed at 6 foot 11 inches tall. Now, Lister is a big guy. You can tell that because he was given the nickname Tiny. Haha, I bet he and his fat friend Slim and his bald friend Curly all got on real well. But he was not even close to being nearly 7 foot. In reality, Zeus was 6'5", meaning WWE tacked a whole half a foot onto his build height. For reference, Zeus was shorter than Baron Corbin, and Corbin was never billed as being 7 foot tall, although I wouldn't put it past WWE to try, what with everything they did to try and make Baron Corbin happen. And that's our list. Make sure, of course, that you like this video and subscribe to partsFUNknown so you never miss a list just like it, and check out the one-off return of No Holds Barred. Hello, I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and welcome to a very special edition of No Holds Board, sponsored by the fine folks at All Time Wrestling. Today, we are going to be playing All Time Wrestling.